For years, fans have admired Chip Gaines and Joanna Gaines for their strong marriage, joyful family life, and inspiring success story. But after heartbreaking news surrounding Joanna's diagnosis began circulating, emotions quickly overwhelmed supporters everywhere. What happened next left many fans deeply moved, as Chip's emotional response revealed a side of their relationship the public rarely sees. Social media was filled with tears, prayers, and heartfelt reactions within hours. So, what exactly did Chip do after Joanna's diagnosis, and why has it touched so many people around the world? When Chip suddenly went silent. At first, fans thought Chip Gaines was simply exhausted. Magnolia was expanding faster than ever, new projects were launching constantly, and the couple behind Fixer Upper appeared unstoppable from the outside. But sometime during early 2022, viewers began noticing subtle changes that felt impossible to ignore. Chip, once known for his loud jokes, chaotic energy, and constant presence beside Joanna Gaines, suddenly became quieter. Interviews became rare. Public appearances slowed down. Even his social media activity felt strangely distant, as if something serious was happening behind the carefully controlled image the family had built for years. Behind closed doors in Waco, Joanna was privately dealing with growing physical pain that few people fully understood. At first, the discomfort seemed manageable, the kind of strain expected from years spent filming renovations, traveling constantly, and balancing business with raising 5 children. But the pain reportedly continued getting worse. While cameras captured polished smiles and successful launches, Joanna was struggling through long days while trying to hide how much her condition was affecting her physically and emotionally. Chip noticed the changes long before the public did. Friends close to the family later described him as distracted and emotionally drained during moments when Magnolia should have been celebrating major success. Instead of appearing excited about expanding their empire, he reportedly spent more time away from cameras and production meetings. Some fans initially believed the pressure of fame had finally caught up with him. Others quietly wondered whether problems inside the marriage were beginning to surface. The silence surrounding the situation only intensified the speculation. As weeks passed, the contrast became impossible to ignore. Publicly, the Gaines family still represented warmth, stability, and the comforting image that made millions trust them. Privately, fear was beginning to replace certainty. Joanna's worsening health forced the family into a reality no renovation project or business success could control. For Chip, the man who built an entire career around fixing broken things, the situation carried a deeper emotional weight. He could not solve this crisis with hard work, humor, or determination. That growing mystery transformed ordinary concern into deep emotional investment. Viewers were no longer watching celebrities build homes. They were watching a husband disappear beneath pressure while his family faced uncertainty that nobody understood. Why had Chip Gaines suddenly become almost unrecognizable behind forced smiles and disappearing appearances? Was Joanna hiding something far worse than anyone imagined? And as whispers inside Magnolia quietly intensified, what devastating moment was approaching behind closed doors while fans still believed everything remained perfectly normal? Keep watching. Fear entered Magnolia behind cameras. By the middle of 2022, something inside the Gaines household had quietly begun changing. While Magnolia Network continued expanding and new projects kept drawing attention across America, Joanna Gaines was privately fighting pain that refused to disappear. At first, she treated it like exhaustion from years spent filming renovations, traveling constantly, and managing a growing business empire beside Chip Gaines. She continued smiling through interviews, public events, and family appearances, giving almost no sign that her condition was becoming serious. But behind closed doors in Waco, the situation was slowly becoming impossible to hide. The pain reportedly began in her back before spreading into everyday life. Simple movements became harder. Long filming days became exhausting. Even routine family moments started carrying physical strain. For months, Joanna pushed forward quietly, determined not to let the problem interrupt their busy lives. Friends later suggested she rarely complained openly, choosing instead to protect the image of stability that had defined the Gaines family for years. But Chip could already see the difference. He noticed the fatigue in her expression, the hesitation in her movements, and the moments when she appeared overwhelmed while trying to hide it from everyone else. As medical appointments increased, concern inside the family reportedly intensified. Doctors eventually confirmed that Joanna was dealing with a severe spinal condition caused by years of physical strain. Surgery was no longer optional. The news reportedly shocked the entire household. For a family that had built its reputation around solving problems and rebuilding broken spaces, this crisis felt deeply personal because it could not be controlled through determination alone. Chip reportedly struggled emotionally after learning how serious the situation had become. Those close to the family later described him as quieter and unusually withdrawn during that period. Instead of focusing on Magnolia projects or television plans, his attention shifted completely toward Joanna and their children. Fear slowly replaced confidence inside the household. Some observers even began wondering whether the pressure of fame and non-stop work had pushed the couple beyond their limits. Others believed the crisis revealed how fragile their seemingly perfect world had always been beneath the surface. For Chip, the diagnosis marked a painful realization that love could not always prevent suffering, and that helplessness would soon become the hardest battle of all. As hospital visits multiply and Joanna's condition worsens, Chip faces questions nobody in the family wants answered. What truth are doctors refusing to soften? Why did Joanna hide the pain so long? And when fear finally overwhelms Chip, will one emotional moment quietly change everything inside their marriage forever? Stay with us. Chip abandoned fame for family. When Joanna Gaines finally underwent surgery, the public still knew very little about how serious the situation had become inside the family. Magnolia Network continued promoting new projects. Reruns of Fixer Upper remained popular, and fans assumed Chip Gaines was simply busy managing the growing business empire they had spent years building together in Waco. But behind the scenes, production schedules were quietly changing, appearances were being canceled, and opportunities that once seemed impossible to refuse were suddenly being pushed aside without explanation. For years, Chip had built his identity around movement, energy, and constant ambition. He was the loud voice on construction sites, the unpredictable personality beside Joanna's calm presence, and a man who appeared capable of turning pressure into excitement. Yet during Joanna's recovery, friends reportedly noticed a version of him they had never seen before. He became quieter, emotionally exhausted, and almost completely disconnected from the public image viewers associated with Fixer Upper. Instead of spending long days filming or expanding Magnolia operations, he reportedly stayed close to Joanna, refusing to leave her side for extended periods while she slowly recovered. As Joanna struggled through pain, exhaustion, and limited mobility after surgery, Chip's priorities appeared to shift entirely. Meetings were delayed. Public commitments became rare. Some projects reportedly slowed behind the scenes as more attention focused on family life inside their home. At the same time, Chip also faced the emotional pressure of protecting their 5 children from the fear surrounding Joanna's condition. While cameras once captured laughter and chaos inside the Gaines household, the atmosphere reportedly became far more fragile and uncertain. The sudden change fueled speculation among fans who sensed something deeper was happening. Some believed the pressure of balancing fame, business, and family had finally overwhelmed the couple. Others viewed Chip's withdrawal differently, seeing it as quiet proof of devotion rather than collapse. What made the situation especially emotional was the contrast itself. The man once celebrated for fixing homes now seemed focused entirely on holding his family together while everything around him slowed down. For many viewers, it revealed a side of Chip Gaines that fame had never fully shown before, and although the public saw Magnolia as a symbol, those closest to the family understood that something far more personal was unfolding behind closed doors, a chapter that would reshape how Chip viewed responsibility and success forever. What finally happened behind Magnolia's closed doors while cameras stopped rolling? Why were longtime friends suddenly alarmed by Chip's silence? And as Joanna's recovery grew harder, what painful decision quietly emerged that threatened everything they had spent years building together behind the scenes? Stay tuned. Behind Magnolia Smiles came pressure. From the outside, Chip and Joanna Gaines still looked like the perfect American success story. Their Magnolia empire continued growing across television, retail, publishing, and home design, while millions of fans watched them transform broken houses into dream homes. But behind the polished image that made them famous, the emotional pressure inside their marriage had quietly been building for years. Joanna's health crisis did not create those cracks alone. It exposed struggles that had already been hiding beneath the surface of their carefully managed lives. Long before Joanna's surgery, both of them had been balancing impossible demands. They were raising 5 children while managing a rapidly expanding business connected to Magnolia Network, television productions, partnerships, and constant public attention. Every new project required more time, more travel, and more emotional energy. Yet despite the exhaustion, they continued presenting stability to the world. Fans saw laughter, teamwork, and success. What they rarely saw were the sacrifices required to maintain that image every single day. As Joanna's physical condition worsened, the emotional strain reportedly intensified between them. The pressure of recovery, parenting, business decisions, and public expectations began reshaping the atmosphere inside their household. Chip, once known for bringing constant humor into stressful situations, reportedly became more withdrawn and reflective. Joanna, meanwhile, was no longer able to push herself endlessly the way she had for years. The couple suddenly faced a frightening realization that their lives could not continue operating at the same relentless pace. Some observers quietly questioned whether fame itself had contributed to the emotional distance growing between them. Others believe the crisis simply revealed what many successful couples experience privately, but rarely admit publicly. Behind the cameras, there was no script, no renovation timeline, and no guaranteed happy ending. The emotional exhaustion surrounding their family could not be solved through hard work alone. For years, Fixer Upper had built its reputation around repairing damaged spaces and creating beauty from chaos. But Joanna's diagnosis forced Chip and Joanna into a reality where real life felt far more unpredictable than television. Their empire suddenly seemed less important than the emotional survival of the family holding it together. And as the pressure continued mounting behind closed doors, the image that once inspired millions slowly began revealing how fragile even the strongest partnerships can become under the weight of fear and expectation. How long can two people survive pretending everything is still perfect?